Hey everybody, welcome in to Live and Learn. Hope you all had a great weekend. We're here on Monday, October the 21st, with lots to dive into. Another big weekend in the world of sports. In October, so much going on, so many big stories, injuries. We got hockey, football, baseball, so much to dive into. And we are going to tonight. And the beginning is just, where do you start? So much happened. So many things are happening in the world of sports this past weekend and as we move forward that it's hard to pick. But let's start with quick hits. This weekend, college football, Georgia defeats Texas. Yes, we're not going to talk college football for long, but that's a big story to me. So, everybody, internet dropped out for just a second, but we are back. As I was saying, Francis Ngannou gets a big victory this weekend in his PFL debut. He lost his son a couple months ago, so just an awesome moment for him. Injuries in the National Football League. Brandon Ayuk, just confirmed via Adam Schefter, the wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers, suffered a torn ACL and a torn MCL. He is done for the season. You look at San Francisco, they're without Ayuk, they're without McCaffrey. Trent Williams left the game early yesterday. Brock Purdy played horrible. We'll get to that game in greater depth in just a little bit. But Ayuk got a contract extension in the offseason. It's a big loss. Deebo Samuel did not play because of an illness. So lots to ponder, lots to look at for the 49ers. They are now 3-4. We're in the Super Bowl last year. They do not look like a Super Bowl team as we currently sit here today. And then there's Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson suffered a torn Achilles on a non-contact injury yesterday. And here's the thing. I told you all to bet on Cleveland. They almost covered, but they didn't. But when Deshaun went down, the Cleveland Browns fans cheered. They were happy that he was no longer going to be the quarterback of the team. If we're being honest, if he wasn't making crazy amounts of money, he would have already been benched for the Cleveland Browns, but because they gave him the stupidest contract in pro sports history to date, he's not going to be benched. They don't want to admit a mistake, and he was going to play. He gets injured on a fluke play, and the Cleveland Browns fans, who are notoriously evil, who love their Cleveland Browns, who just lost the night before to the Yankees. Think about that. Could have been a World Series team, but you're not. You lose to the Yankees on Saturday evening in Cleveland, like I predicted. So you're pissed off. The Yankees beat you. Nobody likes the Yankees. And now you see your football team. You're an embarrassment. You might trade Myles Garrett. You traded Amari Cooper, who scored a touchdown with the Bills yesterday in his debut. And you go, oh, Deshaun got hurt. He's no longer going to be playing quarterback. Maybe it'll be Jameis Winston. Maybe it'll be Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Who cares who it is? It's just not Deshaun. Do I think that fans should be happy when a player gets injured? I do not. It's not classy. You don't want to see players get injured. So I want to start with that. Because I remember this was in 2019, Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Kevin Durant played the first game he had played all postseason. And he pulled up, he was hot, he pulled up with a jumper, he landed, and he tore his Achilles. And the fans in the Air Canada Center cheered because Durant was no longer going to be available for the Golden State Warriors. Now, this did make sense. The Raptors would go on to win that series the next game in Golden State, win the only championship in team history. And Kevin Durant was a huge obstacle in them winning. I've said this plenty of times. If Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson are all healthy, the Raptors do not have a championship to their name. But that's not the way things went. And ultimately, they won. But they cheered Kevin Durant being injured, and I didn't like it. Because it's not classy. It's kind of scumbag-ish behavior. Now, nobody hates Deshaun Watson more than me. I think the guy's scum. He got paid a bunch of money to grope a bunch of women, and then the Cleveland Browns, because they're desperate and because they're one of the dumbest organizations in pro sports, gave him a stupid contract that they are now paying for. So, will it pain me to not see him play again this year? Absolutely not. However, I don't think you should boo a player that tears their Achilles. I think there's a line, and I don't think you should cross it. And I think they did in Cleveland on Sunday afternoon. That shouldn't have happened. Do I get it? Sure. He's playing like crap. The team now has a better chance of winning games than they did with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. With either Jameis or DTR, they'll have a better chance. I don't think they're going to win many games because this team's done. They're 1-6. They're not going to the playoffs. They're going to finish last in their division because they play in a really tough division. And I look around and go, what if Cleveland gets the first pick in the draft? It's not out of the realm of possibility. Patriots aren't a very good team. Carolina Panthers are not a very good team. But Cleveland could fit into that. Could they pick in the top 3? Sure. Then what do? Do you eat Deshaun Watson's contract because you have a number 1 overall pick that'll make no money? Or a quarterback that gets taken in the top 3? What if you get Shedeur Sanders, son of one primetime Deion Sanders, currently at the University of Colorado? Would Shedeur go to Cleveland? Better question. Because Deion has hinted that his boy won't just go anywhere. He will pull a John Elway. He will pull a Eric Lindros, a Eli Manning, if he has to. Which, good on the players that do that. I don't have an issue with it. If you have some control, use it. Because once you're in the league, you are a commodity until you're done. Until you're in the league, you can do whatever you want. You have some power. So, Deshaun Watson done for the season? I don't care. It's not really that big of a story because the team sucks. And he's been terrible. All season, he's been terrible since he got to Cleveland. All this, he has never been good for that team. He's given them a less than above average chance of winning. He's a net negative to that franchise, to that city, to everything. Now, players like Myles Garrett, Players like Jameis Winston, who came out after and made comments saying he's been a model citizen since he got here. He doesn't deserve this. He's a good person, yada, yada, yada. I don't want to hear it. This guy's not a model citizen. This guy isn't a good person. This guy's had instances since he got to Cleveland. So defending a teammate in that light is just stupid. I get defending teammates, sure. Defend his play? Okay. You might be a part of why he's not. If you're a receiver, you go, hey, it's not really Deshaun. I've been running really crappy routes lately. And you go, you know what? Okay. Maybe throw on the tape. Maybe he's right about that. Maybe he's just covering for his teammate, and we can discuss it. I'm okay with that because it's a teammate being a teammate. But defending horrible behavior, I can't agree with. I don't think a teammate would have defended O.J. Simpson. I know this. Teammates did not defend Ray Rice. Remember him? Running back for the Ravens. He never played in the league yet. He got caught punching his wife on camera. You don't see a whole lot of people defending Diddy right now. Doesn't have a whole lot of fans. Doesn't have a whole lot of people going, you know what? He's kind of a fun guy. I like hanging out with him. He was good in the movie Get Him to the Greek. But you don't hear a lot of that. It's not a whole lot of, oh, please, be easy on my boy. No. Nobody. It's quiet. Same thing here. That very well could have been the last snap that Deshaun Watson will take as a member of the Cleveland Browns. Could be the last snap he takes as an NFL player. He's going to make all that money. But if they are picking high in the draft, like I think they will, with the likes of New England and with the likes of Carolina and the Tennessee Titans, they will be picking high and they'll have their ability to select a quarterback if they want one. And by selecting a young quarterback, they would give themselves the ability to potentially move away from Deshaun Watson, eat hundreds of millions of dollars in dead cap money, and not be good for a while, but at least you'd start to grow a young quarterback of the future. A young quarterback that might be able to play. That's the trajectory I see for the Cleveland Browns because they have no future with Deshaun. And unfortunately for Kevin Stefanski, who's won 2 Coach of the Years, both in Cleveland, they probably don't have a future with him at head coach. They will likely move off of him. But is Cleveland a funner team to watch now that Deshaun Watson is injured? Yes. Are they a more likable team? Yes. Should the fans have booed him when he tore his Achilles on the field? Probably not. Although, they paid for a ticket. So what you do in there is kind of your business. You could have went full Texas fans throwing beer and stuff on the field on Saturday night, which is just punkish behavior. They didn't do that. They booed. Would I have done it? No. But hey, it's Deshaun. I can't feel that bad. Other quick hits. Aiden O'Connell of the Las Vegas Raiders suffered a broken thumb yesterday. He left the game in the second quarter. He is now expected to miss 4 to 6 weeks. The Raiders continue to fall. Gardner Minshew had 3 interceptions yesterday in a loss to the Rams. Their season's going nowhere fast. I expect them to throw some guys on the trading block because they are not going to be a playoff team this year. And also, the Dolphins have moved Tua Tagovailoa off the IR list. He is eligible to return to practice on Wednesday, and it looks like Tua will be in line to play this upcoming Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals, who play tonight on Monday Night Football. So we could see Tua as soon as Sunday in a Miami Dolphins uniform. How you feel about that, whole other story, but if he is cleared, if he clears concussion protocol, if doctors say he's okay, Tua will be back on the field. He was also asked today if he will wear a guardian cap moving forward. If you're not familiar with what a guardian cap is, if you watch football, you might see players. It looks like they kind of have a pillowcase on their head. It's for protection. It's kind of a new invention for NFL players. Not a whole lot of players wear it. Some do. He said no, he will not be wearing a guardian cap, despite the fact that he's had concussions a variety of times. He goes, it's my personal choice. So that's the news on the Tua front. Again, he could start as soon as Sunday at home against the Arizona Cardinals. Dolphins' next 4 games: home Arizona, at the Bills, at the Rams on Monday Night Football, home to the Raiders. So definitely some winnable games if they have Tua at quarterback over the next little while, as the Dolphins currently sit at 2-4 following a dreadful game against the Colts yesterday. Let's move to headlines. Saturday night, we saw 2 teams in the National Hockey League that are 2 of the better teams in the league. 2 teams that have an identity. 2 teams that believe that they could represent the Eastern Conference in the Stanley Cup Final. That's the Toronto Maple Leafs and the New York Rangers. A fun affair. Some good goaltending on both sides. But in the end, the Rangers get the win over the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I watched the game. I rewatched the second and third period Sunday morning. And I like the Rangers. I do. I still worry about them as we get deeper, but you can sense that team really knows they need to win. I don't sense any pressure with Igor Shesterkin, who was phenomenal on Saturday night against the Maple Leafs. He was the best player on the ice, probably either team, quite frankly. And I like how the Rangers move the puck. I think the Rangers have a much better outlook on their power play than the Maple Leafs do. The Maple Leafs power play still is abysmal, and it makes you want to throw up because of just how pedantic it is and just how careful and how every pass needs to be thought out, and it's too much and ineffective, quite frankly. But I think you look at that game and you're 5 games into a season, you're not making huge declarations. You can make declarations about certain teams. San Jose is not going anywhere. They haven't won a game yet. We're almost 2 weeks into the season. They haven't won a game. Lost a couple in overtime in the gimmick, but that's it. And the gimmick is the shootout, if you're new to the podcast. San Jose's not going anywhere. Buffalo's already screwed. Buffalo, I worry about them. Buffalo, we know the teams. Buffalo, Chicago. They're not doing anything. However, what I will say is I think both teams can play with anybody in the league. And the one thing, oddly enough, that you look at the Leafs and you go Saturday night, they looked a little slow. They're missing something up the middle of the ice to have some speed. Because to me, I felt the Rangers can throw multiple waves at you and it never feels like it's slowing down. And this is not a pick on John Tavares podcast, but when you see crap, it's impossible not to point it out. I just look at him and go, God, he's slow. Doesn't really help the team all that much. And if you didn't know this, John Tavares was on the ice for 3 of the 4 goals that the Rangers scored on Saturday night. Not good. You just go through the team and go, he was really ineffective. Nylander, Marner, the best players for the Maple Leafs, other than Matthews, but even him, had 9 shots on goal, wanted the puck, was all over it. But I look at the Leafs' best players, and they weren't that great with attention to detail. For a couple of those goals, they turn the puck over, puck goes down the other end, and they score. But I think they need an influx of a spark, of some jump. The Maple Leafs will take out Ryan Reeves for tonight. Max Pacioretty will step back in to the lineup. That makes sense. He's a healthy scratch for the last 2 games. He's now back into the lineup tonight. And that game, only game on the NHL schedule tonight, Lightning Maple Leafs in Toronto, and that's a Prime Monday Night Hockey. So if you're looking for it on Sportsnet, you're not going to find it. You need to have Prime. And that's for every Monday night this year. There is a Prime game, so just keep your eyes open for that. But Shesterkin, 34-35, says he was great. I thought Stolarz was great as well. Stolarz is very much in the conversation to be the Leafs number 1. Joe Wall might play tomorrow against Columbus. We don't know. Probably should after having tightness, whatever fugazi-ass injury he came up with to start the year. But Stolarz gives him a chance to win every night. He makes big saves. He's locked in. He's huge in the net. I think the team has confidence in him. That's a huge thing. Players play well in front of him. And I just think he's a really solid netminder who gives you a good chance to win. And he's on the ice. Another positive thing, he's available. Unlike Joe Wall, who has not been available so far this year, was not available in Game 7 last year for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But I think this is what you want to see if you're a Leaf fan. Beat Pittsburgh, sure. Lose to Montreal in a game you should have won, sure. You beat the Devils, that's an impressive win. The Devils will be a playoff team. I like the Devils. You lose to the Rangers, now you get Tampa tonight. Last couple of years, Toronto plays really well against the Tampa Bay Lightning, really well. But these are the games you want to look at. Play teams that are going to be in the playoffs. Play teams that you could potentially face in the first round of the playoffs. For the next little while, you see the Leafs. Lightning tonight, at Blue Jackets tomorrow. Home to St. Louis, and then at Boston, at Winnipeg. So a couple tougher games. Winnipeg Jets are 5-0 to start the season. Red hot. Looking great. Bruins 3-2-1, similar to Toronto. Kind of mixed bag start. Not great. Swayman hasn't been very good. Marchand hasn't been very good. His coach calling him out. His coach ripping into him on the bench. But playoff teams you've faced many times over the last couple years. But I don't think they looked like a team that couldn't play with the Rangers, that wouldn't be in the same conversation. I still think the Rangers are a really good club. They might have the best goalie in the league, which always helps you. Alexis Lafreniere has taken a big step, smarter player, great shot, confident in his ability. Love to see that. Chris Kreider just does his thing. Hard checking on the boards, get to the net, piss people off, and score goals. That's what he does, Chris Kreider. And he does it incredibly effectively. I love watching Chris Kreider play because you know what you're going to get every night, and he's been with the Rangers his entire career, and he's just kind of the heart and soul of that team. As much as Artemi Panarin gets on my nerves, and I don't think he's a performer come April, May, June, in the regular season, there's not many better than him. If you just look at his production over time, he's fantastic. He was top 10 in scoring last year. He's got 12 points in 5 games to start this year, including a hat trick on Thursday. So he's dynamite. He knows what he's doing. He's a lead on the power play. He's a great passer. Zibanejad actually played well on Saturday. So these two teams will meet again, certainly. The Rangers haven't lost in regulation yet, which is impressive. Only lost to Utah Hockey Club in overtime. Rangers next a little bit at Montreal tomorrow. Home to Florida, which is a rematch of the conference final on Thursday. It's a fun one. Host the Ducks at Capitals, Ottawa. This next stretch here, Islanders, Sabres, Red Wings, they got some easy games. Games that they could rack up points. It's absolutely not out of the realm of possibility that the Rangers win the President's Trophy again. I think it's hard to do. I think you can get complacent a little bit. But they still have Shesterkin, who really wasn't that good in the regular season last year, and he's been really good so far. Still have 19 of the 22 players that won a President's Trophy. Guys that are motivated to win the Stanley Cup. You want home ice at Madison Square Garden. But I thought it was a good game between two good teams. Kind of a lifeless crowd. If Ryan Reeves is not going to fight, and this has been true since he got in the league. If Ryan Reeves is not going to fight, and Matt Rempe played and Ryan Reeves played, if those two gentlemen aren't going to fight, I don't see a reason why you're playing him. Ryan Reeves doesn't really bring anything to the table, in particular at this advanced age. Not as quick as he used to be. He's not going to bring you anything offensively. His shifts are just what they are. And if it's a conversation of play Max Pacioretty or play Ryan Reeves, I'm playing Max Pacioretty. In particular, in a sport that isn't that physical, aren't that many fights anymore. I get it, Rempe played, but there was never a skirmish. There was never a thought of fighting in that game. Ryan Reeves has not fought yet this year for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I just look at him and go, he's on this team, but I really don't know what he brings to the table. Healthy scratch tonight at home. He'll probably play. I think after Christmas, his games are going to go down. Because I don't know what he brings. I don't know what he does. I think he's one of the 12 skaters on offense that goes over the boards, but he's one of the 12 that doesn't bring a whole lot to the table. I'd rather have somebody that could play with Nick Robertson to give him a spark. Still hasn't scored a goal. They're giving him looks. They're letting him play. On Saturday night, I thought he had a decent game. Couple shots, had a good look in the third period, but couldn't finish. He's around it. But again, line mates, things of that nature, playing with Pajama Boy, who's slow. The lines have not been released yet. I'm trying to find those for you all on the fly. But there's just a morning skate today. Warm-up is in about 20 to 25 minutes. But Robertson's been playing with Tavares the last couple nights. We'll see. Domi, Nylander could be broken up. They were not great on Saturday. So I'm curious to see what Chief does with the lines tonight with Leafs, Lightning. Stollart's back between the pipes. And with a back-to-back, we could see Joe Wall back in the net tomorrow night. Also, tomorrow in the NHL is a kind of NHL on the fly. If you know, you know. You're an OG. Back in the day on the NHL Network, they used to put all the games on. You could bounce back and forth, drop the puck at staggered times. Well, tomorrow, there's a game every basically 15 minutes Caps Flyers start at 7 o'clock from Philly. 7:30 Wild Panthers, that's the 1.5 hour gap. 7:45 Lightning Devils. 8 o'clock Stars Sabres. 8:15 Rangers Montreal. 8:30 Leafs Blue Jackets. 8:45 Red Wings Islanders. 9 o'clock Jets Blues. And that goes on until 11:15 with Sharks and the Anaheim Ducks, and that's tomorrow night. They did this last year in ESPN. I think it was a big success, got a lot of good ratings. You get to see basically every team. It's a red zone, what they do at the NFL, where they'll have somebody, they'll talk about all the goals that go in, they'll break into certain games. And I think it's also ESPN doing this the opening night of the NBA. NBA opens on TNT tomorrow night. The same night they do this with the NHL. Smart. I like it. ESPN has NBA on Wednesday nights. So they're calculated. They're doing what they can. I can appreciate it. Hockey starting at 7 p.m. instead of 8 on a Tuesday. I'm on board, personally. I think it's fun to try these things. To see teams play staggered. I do this all the time. So this is really for everybody. Oh, there's a commercial. Let's try this out. Let's look at this. That's my being. That's my way of life. I couldn't exist if there wasn't other sports going on and I had to watch a GD commercial. How people do that and stay somewhat sane is beyond me. Watch the same stupid ad. At least for me, if I was doing that, I'd have no sound on. So that's one positive. But yeah, listening to the sound, overrated. Watching, not flipping the channel, overrated. Oh, I can't miss. You don't gotta miss. You know when you gotta go back? It's like 2 minutes. Minute and a half. Flip back. I can't miss the puck drop of Leafs Columbus on a Tuesday night, God forbid. But I like the NHL doing it. It's fun. It's good. It's different. They could use some flair. They don't have much, let's be honest. Final headline before we get to our 3 feature stories. The Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday Night Football defeat the New York Jets. They crush them in the Steel City. The Steelers improved to 5-2. The Jets fall to 2-5, losing 37-15. Couple things. Russell Wilson was dreadful in the first quarter. Dreadful. But he got better as the game went on. I'm not the biggest Russell Wilson fan. I find his antics to be annoying. I find his antics to be fraudulent. Russell Wilson to me is a salesman that gives you this pitch and you can just read it on his face that he's full of it. And that's Russell Wilson. I just don't buy what he sells. All his God stuff and all his, stay hard and let's ride Broncos. It's just it's self-serving. It's fake. It's a fugazi to me anyway. And however, despite all those real facts, he played well last night. He threw some balls that wouldn't have gotten caught if George Pickens isn't George Pickens. But he threw for 80 yards more than Justin Fields has been so far this year. Check. He didn't turn the ball over. Check. Aaron threw 2 interceptions. He spread the ball around. 5 for Pickens, 2 for Freiermuth, Calvin Austin, 4 catches for Darnell Washington, 2 for Van Jefferson, 2 touchdown passes. He ran in a touchdown. Najee Harris ran for 5 yards a clip. 21 rush for 102 yards and a touchdown for Najee. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense continues to show what they're made of, and they are fantastic. 2 picks and nearly another pick 6 of Aaron Rodgers. They're just the Steelers. They find ways to do this. Find ways to win games. Find ways to stay above 500, to be a playoff team. Now, it's one game, but it's also one game he could get better. Steelers have a really tough back half of their schedule. They have the Giants next week on Monday Night Football. Suspect that's going to be a win. Then they have their bye week, play at Washington, the Commanders. Then host the Ravens, at Cleveland on a Thursday, at the Bengals, home to the Browns, at the Eagles, at the Ravens, Chiefs, Bengals. Those are the last 8 games. They don't really get an easy, other than the Browns games that I think are now going to be tougher, as I talked about. They don't really get a break. All division games at Philly, host the Chiefs on Christmas Day. None of those are gimmies. Again, and it's weird too. They play on a Thursday in there. They play on a Wednesday because that's when Christmas is this year. So they'll be bouncing around. I think they're going to compete for a playoffs. If they beat the Giants, they will be 6-2 going into their bye week. And following that, they will have 9 games. They're not losing all of them. Can they win 3 of their last 9? I think so. Could they beat the Browns twice? Sure. Split with the Bengals. Maybe eke one out against the Commanders. Maybe upset the Chiefs. Split with the Ravens, perhaps, because it's such a... Steelers are likely going to be a playoff team again. As crazy as that is, I think they would be with either Justin Fields or Russell Wilson. I think we will see Justin Fields on the field again, pardon the pun, before the year is up. But the Steelers are just, what Mike Tomlin can do, he's such a great coach. He's going to the Hall of Fame. He makes chicken salad out of chicken shit a lot. A lot. If I had to equate it to a player, I think of Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald played with a lot of crappy quarterbacks. John Skelton and Colt McCoy and Ryan Lindley. After Kurt Warner retired, Arizona went through crap quarterback after crap quarterback. And every year, Larry Fitzgerald would finish with over 1,000 receiving yards, like clockwork. It didn't matter who he played with, what quarterback, what system. You knew Larry Fitzgerald was, number one, was going to catch the ball, because Larry Fitzgerald actually has more tackles than drops in his NFL career. That's a stat of the day. Talk about that. He has more tackles. He played offense. He has more tackles in his career than drop passes, Larry Fitzgerald. Hall of Famer, walking in. But the Steelers look good. Their TJ Watt is just a force. Cam Hayward can still play. Minkah Fitzpatrick, good in the secondary. Steelers are likely going to be a playoff team. 9-10 wins, they can get there. They can get there. 10-7. Be a wild card club. I don't think they'll win their division, because I just think the Ravens are a better team all in all. But they'll compete. Other side of this, the New York Jets. Through 7 games, Aaron Rodgers has 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Worst 7-game start of his career, any season. He doesn't look confident. He only looks like he wants to throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage to Breece Hall. Doesn't take chances down the field. Only connected on 3 of 9 targets to Devontae Adams last night. Doesn't have a great feel with Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson dropped a huge pass that led into an interception. That wasn't great. threw a bad interception before the half that led to a touchdown and gave the Steelers momentum and really shifted the game. He's talking about not listening to the media after the game is the biggest change they have to make moving forward. That's not true or the right outlook. So, the Jets. I don't know what they do well. I don't know what their plan is on offense. They can't stop the run. They didn't against the Bills. They didn't against the Steelers. They can't connect on deep passing plays down the field. They haven't to this point. They have a quarterback who used to be great, who isn't anymore. And I thought he would be, and I'm owning this right now, that the Jets were going to win the AFC East, that the Jets were going to get to the AFC Championship game, and they're just not. Quite frankly, I'd be pretty stunned if the Jets make the playoffs. I would. The Bengals are flawed. The Bengals are 3-4. Game better than the Jets. I think the Bengals are better than the Jets. The Steelers just beat the Jets. The Bills are better than the Jets. Are the Dolphins? We haven't seen them play yet. Get Tua back? Maybe. Who knows? Not that big a difference. And those teams really isn't. Jets 2-5, Dolphins 2-4. Bad teams. Doing what bad teams do. But I'm just going through the AFC. Ravens, better. Chiefs, better, obviously. I think the Chargers are better than the New York Jets currently. Just my opinion. Houston, better. Colts, they have a better record than the Jets. Colts are 4-3. Colts are better with Joe Flacco than Anthony Richardson, but that's a whole other story for another day. But are the Colts better than the Jets currently? Yeah, probably. Jags, they're about the same. Titans stink. Although the Jets nearly lost to Tennessee. The Jets have lost to the Broncos. If they played the Chargers, they'd lose. And the Raiders, who the hell knows? But we're going with the bottom of the barrel here. And the Jets, let's look at their schedule. They have the Patriots for the second time this upcoming Sunday. Must-win game against a bad team in New England. They then have to play another Thursday night game, Halloween night, home to Houston. That's no gimme. Following Sunday at Arizona, then they play home to the Colts and they get their bye week in week 12. That's got to be 3 or 4. You'd love to go 4 for 4, but that's got to be 3 or 4. You got to beat the Patriots, you got to beat the Cardinals, you got to beat the Colts. Because then you're 5-6 going into your bye week. Following their bye, home to Seattle, at Dolphins, at Jags, home to the Rams, at the Bills, home Dolphins. They have a lot of teams in the second half of their schedule that probably aren't going to be playoff teams. But that doesn't mean much because the Jets currently don't look like they're going to be a playoff team either. So that doesn't guarantee a win. Seahawks, better record. Dolphins, better record. Jaguars, same record. Rams, better record. Bills, better record. Dolphins, better record. Second half of the season. Now, the Jets might be favored in some of those games because Vegas continues to make them a favorite in every game they play. But, I mean, if you're fading the Jets right now, you're making money. You're doing well. Steelers getting points at home last night, and they crushed them. Vegas loves the Jets, making them a favorite. Vegas loves the Cowboys. That's their one. With Vegas, you can get them on these homer teams, these big market teams, that they make a favorite for some reason. Why? I hope Aaron can make a turnaround. I do, because I like Aaron. Some people hate him because of his whole immunized, not taking the vaccine, this thing, and then he's done some others. I like Aaron. I'm currently reading his book. I think he's an interesting guy. I think he's a thinker. I think he's a smart guy. So I like to see him succeed. Because you don't want to see the Jets experience be remembered so terribly as a joke, as something of, oh, it was the reverse of the Tom Brady experiment with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because it just went so awful for him. The second he leaves Green Bay, everything goes to shit. If the season keeps progressing like it has for Aaron Rodgers, I think he retires at the end of the year. Because I don't think he'll want to come back to this. I don't think he'll want to keep doing this. Because it is embarrassing. Because he's not having success. And he doesn't look like he did a number of years ago. He'll battle through this year, but if it doesn't go well, I think this is it for Aaron Rodgers. The end of the road when it comes to football. Unless it's in another uniform and not for the New York Jets. Which is always a possibility because that's exactly what his mentor, Brett Favre, did. So maybe he'll want to do what Brett did because he's been kind of following his career trajectory for a long time now. We went through almost 50 minutes just in quick hits and headlines because there's so much happened this weekend. So much. Let's go to feature story number one. We're going to do World Series at the end. We're going to stick talking football, hockey because we have to this point. Let's talk Detroit Lions, Kansas City Chiefs. To me, the two best teams in each respective conference. And they're doing it in two very different ways. Detroit, they flexed their muscle on offense. Ben Johnson, who could have been a head coach last offseason, wanted too much money, reportedly, and has to go back to Detroit. But he gets to work with Jared Goff, who has had something like 8 incompletions in his last 3 games. Crazy. 2 touchdowns yesterday, no turnovers. Was nearly perfect against the blitz. And the Lions beat the Vikings. The Vikings gets handed their first loss of the season. But you look at the Lions with Jahmyr Gibbs, with Amon-Ra St. Brown, with Jared Goff just dissecting defenses and doing what he does so effectively. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, period. And I love watching the Lions. They played a ton of fast. Their only loss this year to the Bucs. Great game. They've beaten the Vikings. They've been in dogfights with teams, and they find ways to win. They destroy the Cowboys. In a power rankings, the Lions are number 1 to me, even without Aiden Hutchinson. I would love for them to get a Myles Garrett or for them to get a Max Crosby by the November 5th trade deadline, because then that would really make me go, okay, this team can beat anybody. But they beat the Vikings yesterday. The Vikings are undefeated. The Vikings had beaten the Packers. No slouch. The Vikings beat the Jets. The Vikings were going through teams, playing well. And they go to Minnesota and get the victory on the road. Not an easy task. So, with all the weapons that they have, the versatility, the creativity on offense that they play with, I look at it and go, I don't think anybody can match it. Gibbs, Montgomery, Sam Laporta. And their defense was fine. They got pressure on Sam Darnold. He missed some throws in the fourth quarter that could have put them in field goal range. It could have iced the game. He missed a 2-point conversion. And the Lions end up winning it on a Jake Bates field goal from 40 yards. But the Lions, I think their defense is solid, but it's not the strength of their team. Their strength of their team is their offense. And their quarterback is playing at such a high level in this system, he looks like an elite guy. Now, the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC, they do it differently. They flex their muscle with their defense, with Trent McDuffie, with Chris Jones. They are so intelligent on defense. Steve Spagnuolo is one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. He's won Super Bowls with the Giants, those defenses going up against Brady. He's won Super Bowls defensive coordinator of the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes has more interceptions this year than he does touchdowns. 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions after 7 games. He hasn't played great. He's made some poor decisions. He didn't throw for 200 yards yesterday. But he does enough to win. They don't have Rashee Rice. They don't have Pacheco. Juju Smith-Schuster had 100 yards the week previous. He leaves in the first quarter. And he's already been ruled out for Sunday against the Raiders. So they lose players weekly on offense. Mahomes does not have a great connection with Xavier Worthy yet. I don't know if he ever will. Kareem Hunt had another 2 touchdowns yesterday coming off the street. Awesome for him. They're using McCole Hardman, Sky Moore, gadget players who are being asked to play a role. Travis Kelce, kind of great one week, slow and pedestrian the next. He's an older guy. Not what he used to be. Yesterday he had 4 catches for 17 yards. That's not great. Luke receiving Noah Gray was first 4 catches for 66 yards. Mecole Hardman 1 for 17. Xavier Worthy 3 for 19. Samaje Perine 1 catch for 22 yards, a running back. So, but you look, they had 4 rushing touchdowns. Mahomes had 1, Hardman had 1, Kareem Hunt had 2. They find ways to score points. They had 3 interceptions of Brock Purdy, and that's the defense. They only sacked him once, but they're in his face the entire day. In his face the whole day. Justin Reed had a pick. Roland Wallace had a pick on a really bad throw, and Hicks had an interception in the end zone in the fourth quarter. And the Chiefs really bled the clock out after that, and the game was over because they went down and scored a touchdown on the next drive. George Karlaftis, Chris Jones, Leo Chanel has taken a huge step forward. He's playing really good football in the linebackers for the Chiefs. Nick Bolton, good in coverage all over the field. But they're smart. They outthink their opponents. They're in the right position on defense. And they can overcome mistakes from Mahomes, who had another 2 interceptions yesterday. And other teams just can't. Other teams don't have that intelligence on their side. Now, I do think that Kansas City needs a wide receiver before the trade deadline to be that real best team that you go, okay, this team can three-peat. Because I don't think they have enough currently to win the Super Bowl. They will lose to Detroit if they play today, if you ask me. Baltimore is really, really good. Baltimore is playing tonight, Monday Night Football. Lamar Jackson is elite. Lamar Jackson has won multiple MVPs. He probably should be the front runner right now to win it again in 2024, 2025. He's been that good for the Ravens. Looking around the league, see Amari Cooper traded, Devontae Adams traded. Receivers that could be available on bad teams. I think Calvin Ridley in Tennessee potentially, but he makes a lot of money. I don't think that's happening. Gabe Davis in Jacksonville, not sure. DJ Chark potentially an option. Mike Williams with the Jets. Don't know if they have interest in him. DeAndre Hopkins with the Titans on a bad team that's only got 1 win. I could see that being And Carolina, Deontay Johnson, who's been really frustrated playing on a bad team, playing on an incompetent team. Let me rephrase that. That could be something. Deontay Johnson's speedy, could be a slot receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's not bad. He's had some catch issues in the past. But they just need they don't need a game changer to me, but they do need help. They do need somebody that can do something on this offense of substance. Look around the league and find somebody on one of these teams. Cleveland's kind of already traded Amari. They don't have anybody else that's of that high a value. Patriots, their wide receiving core is weak. Don't think big interest there with the Patriots. So you got to find teams that might have somebody that they'd be willing to trade you because they know they're not going to make the playoffs, and they go, okay, we'll get a draft pick for this player, which is better than what we'll get from him the rest of the year. Because guess what? We're a team that just stinks. Deontay Johnson to the Chiefs would make sense. And it probably would work, quite frankly. Jags, I don't see them trading. Raiders, kind of Devontae gone. Jacoby Myers, potentially. But again, that's in division. I don't think that's happening. Giants, Malik Neighbors is not going anywhere. Other than him, the Giants, Bears aren't trading away assets. Green Bay, nobody from that division is. Carolina Saints, potentially, but the Saints, Shaheed would be the guy, but he tore his ACL. He's done for the year. Chris Olave, I don't think the Saints will trade. Still young. Cardinals, lose tonight, they'll be 2-5. Tough stretch to get back into it, but Marco Wilson, Greg Dortch, they're not trading Maserati Marv as a rookie. So there's not great options available for the Chiefs, but they need to do something, and I believe that wholeheartedly. But good teams find a way to win. Bad teams find a way to lose. Jets find a way to lose. They're a bad team. The Lions used to be a bad team that would find a way to lose. They beat teams now because they're great and because they have competence and really good coaching. And I predicted this would be the Super Bowl, Lions-Chiefs. I'm still confident in that prediction. And I like the Ravens a lot. I think the Bills are getting better by the week as well. But the Chiefs beat these teams in the playoffs routinely. Every year they'll play them and the Chiefs win. And on paper, last year, the Chiefs were underdogs to both of those teams. The Chiefs were underdogs in San Francisco yesterday. They won by 10 points. 2-point dog, win by 10. That's what they do. Lions, underdogs in Minnesota, win the game outright by 2. That's just the formula for these teams. Win close, doesn't matter how you win. And they both beat good teams. San Francisco, however, as I said off the top, they're banged up. No Ayuk now, no McCaffrey all year. Who knows when he's coming back? Brock Purdy looked rough. That offensive line looked rough yesterday. 3-4, and now they welcome, I believe they play the Cowboys on, and I'll check that out for you right now. They play the Cowboys coming off a bye on Sunday Night Football in San Francisco. Huge game for both teams. Massive game for both teams. With the Cowboys sitting at 3-3 following a blowout. San Francisco at 3-4. And with Seattle winning in Atlanta yesterday, they don't lead the division. And as we're talking about San Francisco, breaking news here from via Adam Schefter, Deebo Samuel has been hospitalized with a form of pneumonia and fluid in his lungs. No timeline for a return. So San Francisco against the Cowboys could be without Ayuk. They're without him 100% because he's got a torn ACL and MCL, but also maybe no Deebo Samuel on Sunday as well. It'll be up to George Kittle, Ricky Pearsall, the rookie, played his first NFL game after getting shot 50 days ago, to be great for that team. Craziness. I know San Francisco was the favorite. They are currently 4.5. That number is going to go down as we get closer to game time. Let me tell you that. Because Cowboys fans are delusional, and they'll believe that they got a wounded dog in front of them. We can bounce back, like them Cowboys. Despite the fact that we got blown out by the Detroit Lions. And oddly enough, I look at San Francisco. I think the Lions are better than them, obviously, in the NFC. I believe the Minnesota Vikings are better than them in the NFC. I believe the Green Bay Packers are better than them in the NFC. I want to say the Bears, but I'm not going to. I think you make a strong argument the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who are playing tonight, are a better team than San Francisco. As we currently sit here and chat, they're better. It's tough for San Francisco. A lot to overcome. Seattle's got a better record. Geno Smith played well yesterday. Outplayed Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. Found a way to win. But good on the Lions, good on the Chiefs. 2 big victories on the road. Before we get to the World Series, I want to talk about some NHL, not a game in particular, but just some incredible starts in the National Hockey League. Like, for instance, Cale Makar is tied for the league lead in points. Do you know that? With Sam Reinhart. Colorado won 2 games over the weekend. Congratulations to them, unlike Nashville. But Cale Makar has 12 points to start the season. Incredible. More points than Panarin, more points than Malkin, McKinnon. He's tied with Sam Reinhart, who's been fantastic for Florida. Nikita Kucherov leads the NHL in goals. He's only played 4 games. He's got 7 goals in 4 games. Cole Caulfield, great start with Montreal. He's got 6. Ross Colton's got 6. Panarin, Mark Scheifele with 5 with the 5-0 Winnipeg Jets, who beat Pittsburgh yesterday. Pittsburgh did not dress Tristan Jarry. Was not even the backup in that game. He signed long-term. He's played like crap since he signed the deal. At least he didn't say he was injured or had tightness. He just didn't dress because he's been playing. He's been pulled 3 times already this year. But what Jets beat Pittsburgh in Winnipeg. But I'm proud of Cole Caulfield. I talked about him. You look at Montreal, probably not going to be a great team. Not going to be a playoff team, certainly. But I went, Caulfield, it's about time you have a 30-plus goal season. You can score 40 in the NHL easy. He's got 6 goals in 6 games with only 1 assist in those 6 games. Montreal up and down. Hasn't been good. They lost in the gimmick to the Islanders on Saturday night. They're not going to be a playoff team. They're not a great team, quite frankly. But I think Caulfield can have a great year. Slavkovsky's at a point per game to start the season. Montembeau's played well, but Cole Caulfield standing out to me. Happy for him. Nico Hischier, 5 quick goals. Dylan Guenther with 5 as the Utah Hockey Club gets another victory on Saturday night. My main man, Seamus Casey, was sent down to Utica today with the Devils. They have defensemen returning. Brett Pesce and Luke Hughes could return this week. He'll be back. 3 goals are in the early season. Seamus Casey, he'll be back. I'm not worried about him. He's too damn talented. He got my stamp of approval. Jordan Eberle, how about new captain of the Kraken? 5 goals, including an OT winner against the Flames this weekend, had their first loss. Teams, hot start. How's that? Not just players, teams. I look at a team like Vegas, to me. 3-2-1. That's not that great. But I've liked their start. I've watched some of their games. I think they're playing well. Goaltending can come along. You look at teams ahead of them right currently. Kings, Kraken, Flames, teams I don't expect to stay above them. But I think Mark Stone's been fantastic. He's healthy. That's huge. Barbashev's been great. Eichel's been really good. So I like Vegas. Vegas' start to the year. Calgary, of course, 4-0-1. They had their first loss, but they got a point in that game in Seattle. Credit to them. LA, 3-1-2. Awful loss to Toronto. But they bounced back, beat Montreal, then beat the Ducks. They're in Vegas on Wednesday, which will be a tough game for them. But good for them. Winnipeg and Dallas. Winnipeg 5-0, Dallas 5-1. Dallas beating the Edmonton Oilers over the weekend in a game they probably should have lost, but Jake Ottinger was phenomenal. Utah 4-1-1. Out east, Ottawa 3-2. Same record as the Maple Leafs. You'll take that early in the year. Doesn't really matter how you do it. You just got to do it. 3-2. They're behind Florida, and they're behind Boston and Tampa, who's only played 4 games, but it's 3-1. But hey, find a way. Win the games. For them, they haven't had Linus Ullmark since night 2 because he's another goal with something wrong with him. Washington 3-1. Strong start for them. Tom Wilson, friend of the podcast, he doesn't know that, but we do. Tom Wilson had 3 points Saturday night. Tom Wilson on the season, 5 goals in 4 games. Great start for the power forward. The Capitals playing well. So I just wanted to talk about some individual performances because some really good starts, and obviously we can look at the negative. So Predators 0-5. Behind the Sharks in the standings because the Sharks have 2 losses in overtime. Sharks are 0-4-2. Lose to Detroit Saturday afternoon. Lost to the Oilers. Kraken. They've lost to the Red Wings twice. Lost to the Red Wings twice in a week. And they lost to Dallas opening night. No shame there. But lost to 3 teams that likely won't be a playoff team. Kraken and Detroit twice. Can't get a save. Trying to score 100 goals. They now have Boston at home tomorrow. They are at the Lightning next Monday in what will be Steven Stamkos' return to Tampa Bay. They have Bruins, Blackhawks, Blue Jackets before that game. They got to win at least 2 of them. 82-game season, but you start 0-5, that's tough to overcome. That's tough to make up. You can, but the Preds aren't Edmonton of last year where you have McDavid and Draisaitl in their prime. They don't have that. They have Stamkos who can score on the power play, and Marchessault, but they're older players. They're not elite. They're not number 1 guys anymore. They got to win now. Sharks are terrible again, but we knew that. But yeah, they're bad. The Sharks are bad. They're not going to win many games this year. Flyers 1-3-1. They're a rough start. Hurricanes 2-2. They're mixed bag. Sabres, as I said, Sabres already played 7 games, 2-4-1. It's just they beat Chicago, and you're happy about that, I'm sure. But Tage has had a good start, so you're happy with that. Peterka's got 4 goals, but need to see some consistency. Need to see them play hard against better teams, quite frankly. But as I said, 1 game tonight in the NHL before we got a full slate tomorrow with every team on the docket. Games separated basically 15 to 30 minutes, puck drop all the time, so you get to be able to see a number of teams in a fun experiment that is basically NHL on the fly, or the NHL version of the red zone in the NFL. Finally, we will wrap with the World Series. The World Series is set, and it's the World Series that baseball wanted. The New York Yankees, the Los Angeles Dodgers. AL MVP Aaron Judge, NL MVP Shohei Ohtani. The 2 biggest brands in the sport. The 2 biggest rivals, you could argue, over time. 2 teams that spend the most money. And they're rewarded for it. 2 managers that the fan base had wanted fired for a while, in Aaron Boone and in Dave Roberts. The Dodgers have been in 4 of the last 5 World Series in the National League. The Yankees haven't been to a World Series since 2009. But they win the pennant on a Juan Soto 3-run home run, top of the 10th with 2 out on Saturday. He's their World Series champion on the team. He was the piece they brought over. He's a free agent to be. He's had a great season. He's had a good postseason. Scott Boras cannot wait to take the Yankees to the cleaners. But you also have Giancarlo Stanton, who's got 5 homers in the postseason, including 4 in the ALCS, and he was named ALCS MVP. Good for G. For the Dodgers, Shohei's been great. Great regular season. He's gotten better as the postseason gone on. Mookie Betts has been really damn good. Tommy Edman wins NLCS MVP. That's right, Tommy Edman, who got traded from the St. Louis Cardinals to join the Dodgers. He went 2 for 5 yesterday, 4 RBI, 1 home run. Playoffs, he's batting .341 with a homer, 12 RBIs. All over the field, big hits, 3 doubles, 3 stolen bases. But yesterday, Ohtani 2 for 4, Betts 1 for 4, Teoscar Hernandez 2 for 4. Their top guys produced. They've had a hindered Freddie Freeman the entire postseason because of a sprained ankle. And yet they're still here. They had a bullpen day yesterday. They win. But now both teams get to rest. Both teams will be able to throw their ace in Game 1. We know it'll be Garrett Cole for the Yankees come Friday at Chavez Ravine. I would assume it'll be Yamamoto for the Dodgers in Game 1 on Friday night. Baseball gets to build this up all week. Yankees-Dodgers, Game 1 from Chavez Ravine. I like that they're doing it. Normally I go, okay, you're waiting too long to start the series. You're going to lose the hype. I like the weekend, what they're doing. Friday night on Fox, 9 o'clock first pitch, 8 o'clock in the United States. That's a win. That's good. Friday and Saturday night, that time. You could say college football, that's tough, yes, but you're avoiding the NFL. There's nothing on Sunday. Off day Sunday, NFL, okay, great. Monday night, you get baseball, Game 3 in New York. Game 4, Tuesday in New York. Game 5, Wednesday in New York. Off day Thursday. If necessary, Game 6 and 7 go Friday, Saturday in Los Angeles. I think we're going to get a long series. We're going to preview it more as we go throughout the week. Thursday show, we're going to talk some baseball. Absolutely. Preview the World Series. To me, the baseball postseason's been really good so far. That Yankees-Guardians series, it only went 5 games, but it was a phenomenal 5 games. The moment in Game 3 with Big Christmas and David Fry. And then in Game 4, you get phenomenal moments, top of the ninth. Emmanuel Clase was the best closer in baseball. You could make an argument he could have been the Cy Young winner, and he completely faded into the oblivion. He faded into an average pitcher. And the Yankees bats, who they spent money on, who they traded for, gave all the money, are producing. And this year in the postseason is opposite to what happened last year. You had Arizona, who really spent no money and got to the World Series. Texas did spend some money, but not to the level of the Yankees or the Dodgers. But I do think you have to spend to ultimately win a World Series. You can get close. Cleveland had the 28th ranked payroll in baseball out of 30 teams. They win their division. They get to the ALCS, but they aren't good enough to beat the Yankees. Mets are spending a lot of money on payroll, but they're spending money on players who aren't on the roster. They're spending money on Max Scherzer, who's in Texas. They're spending money on Justin Verlander, who's a member of the Houston Astros. They'll have a good team next year, but can they catch fire again? Can they get this far? It's tough to do. Just ask Texas and just ask Arizona, who both missed the playoffs after getting to the World Series just last year. But you get Ohtani, you get Judge playing against one another. You get Juan Soto in the World Series hoping to win another World Series before the age of 26, one in the American League, one in the National League, for the Nats and for the Yankees. Mookie Betts hoping to win another World Series and hoping to prove to Boston just how bad a trade it was for him to leave. Freddie Freeman played a long time with the Braves. Can he win a World Series with the Dodgers? Will that move be the right one for him to go to the Dodgers, ultimately win a World Series? Dodgers sign Yamamoto. Does he win a World Series in year 1 of him being there? Phenomenal storylines. The Yankees bullpen has been pretty phenomenal. The Dodgers bullpen's been used a lot as well because there's been a lot of bullpen games. And I do think that they had to go up against tougher bats in the Mets with Lindor, Vientos, how good he was. The polar bear, Pete Alonso, gave it everything he had. He's now a pending free agent. And I think last night was his last game as a member of the New York Mets, in particular with Scott Boras being his agent. He might be waiting a while before he signs his next contract. But World Series starts Friday. On Thursday's program, we will preview it. We will talk World Series. We will look into this game and what to expect. On Wednesday's show, we're going to talk about the games tonight in the NFL. We're going to talk about the Leafs' next couple games. Look at how the Oilers do in some big games over the next couple of nights in the NHL. Also on Wednesday's show, we're going to talk a little NBA. The NBA season starts tomorrow, 2 games. Celtics, Knicks in Boston, followed by Timberwolves, Lakers in Los Angeles. But we're going to talk over-unders, teams I expect to be good this year, teams I think will be in the mix. So we're going to talk some of that on Wednesday's program. So still a lot to come this week, a lot to dive into. We got Leafs Lightning tonight, and we got 2 games in the NFL. Ravens at the Buccaneers. That game starts in about 45 minutes. Ravens are a 4.5-point favorite on the road in Tampa Bay. This is an interesting game, let me tell you. I really like the Ravens. I do, but I love Baker Mayfield as well. To me, the defense for the Ravens has played well of late. Baker got intercepted 3 times last week against the Falcons. So that's a little concerning to me. I do think it's a close game, but I don't think the Bucs will cover the 4.5. I like the Ravens to win by the Ravens to win by 5 tonight. Close in the first half, they pull away a bit in the second. Ravens have won 4 in a row after an 0-2 start. I think they'll improve to 5-2 tonight in Tampa Bay. They are one of the best teams in the NFL. You could argue they're the best team in the AFC, but I just have so much respect for the Chiefs. Doubleheader tonight at 10 o'clock, second game, Chargers-Cardinals in Arizona. So you have both Harbaugh brothers playing tonight. Chargers beat the Broncos, coming off a bye. Now go to Arizona, who are also 2-4, who are kind of floundering a little bit, but are still very much in the divisional race in the NFC North because San Francisco is 3-4. It's a 1.5 point spread. It's very much a pick'em Vegas zone. I love taking a home dog. If I'm taking a home dog tonight, I'd rather take the Bucs, quite frankly, because you're getting more points. And I just trust Baker Mayfield than I trust Kyler Murray, 2 Oklahoma quarterbacks cutting it up. But I'm going with the Chargers minus 1.5. I do think that the Chargers can be a playoff team in the AFC. I think Justin Herbert's playing good football, and I just like their team. I like Jim Harbaugh. Give me the Chargers tonight, and they'll cover the 1.5 point spread. So as I said, tonight we got NFL, Baltimore, Tampa Bay, and we got Chargers, Cardinals. I'll be back on Wednesday. We're going to touch on a number of different things, including the start of the NBA season. We'll have a full World Series preview on Thursday on the podcast, so stay tuned for that. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. Hope you all have a great start to your week, and we will talk to you on Wednesday. I'm Noah Warren, and this is the Live and Learn Podcast.